Welcome back. Today we are with a true veteran of the Los Angeles retail scene. My guest is Kyle Kavanaugh, the founder of Main & Main. Since founding the firm in 1994, Kyle has built one of the most respected boutique brokerages on the West Coast. They're the team behind some big rollouts with big brands, but they are also the locals who curate the coolest emerging restaurant concepts in your neighborhood. We're going to talk about what it takes to survive 30 years in LA real estate and how to spot the next great broker. Kyle, welcome.
Yeah, very kind words. When I hear veteran, I'm thinking I do have a birthday coming up, and you get to my age, you're like, okay, another one of those things. You want them to happen because you want to be around for them, but it's like veteran. Wow, all right, I think those are very kind words. Those are very kind words.
Definitely veteran. You know, Main & Main is over 30. You founded it over 30 years ago now. We both got in the business right around the same time. What advice would you give yourself if you could go back to 1994?
It was an interesting time, right? When I first got in the business, in the real estate business, it was in the 80s, and then the market turned, the crash. And I remember distinctly someone saying, it was a quote of survive till 95. And I think this was like 1990 when this quote was coming out. And I was like, oh my God, 5 years, I'm going to be selling pizzas at nighttime, which is okay because I would have done it. But in 94, when I did make the leap and go out and create our own boutique organization, the first thing that I did is I asked a ton of questions. So I would tell the same kid, ask questions, right? And listen to what the responses are. I had some great leaders, some great mentors in that process. I was lucky enough to be at Blockbuster Entertainment back in the 90s when they were growing at such a crazy pace, 500 deals a year. And we were on the team, the forefront of that. So a lot of bright people at the table that have gone off to spawn other opportunities, a lot in the food and beverage business. And that's how I primarily ended up in the food and beverage business, besides having an affinity in it. So listen, ask questions, listen, right? And paying attention is the most important thing.
Do you think that's the biggest change that's happened since you started doing retail brokerage in LA? Is maybe not necessarily, things are we still do things so many ways that are exactly the way we did them back then. But, is it the young people that are coming in that are doing things differently?
First and foremost, media changed, right? A couple things changed. The economics changed, and that caused inside the four walls to be different and the experience to be different, and the digital transformation of how you interact with your purchasing to what your orders are, to what your expectations are, and the true customer service. Gone, right? Even the people behind the counter, even people. So those that really have a customer service based business, in my opinion, going forward, are going to be the winners of the pack because it really becomes an experience. It becomes authentic. It becomes real. So I think the technology took away a lot of that, and those that bring it back in some form or fashion, integrate the two, are going to be the winners. And it's going to be experiential, which is kind of funny to think that just customer service is experiential. With the advent of the influencer, that changed how people get introduced to neighborhoods, or they get introduced to opportunities. If you've traveled recently anywhere in the world that used to be really unpopulated, you can't even move in these places because the Instagrammers and those that have gone there, because they saw the photos, they saw how beautiful whatever part of it New Orleans is, or whatever part of lower Manhattan, these really cool neighborhoods that you typically wouldn't see. And somebody went there, posted, somebody reposted, and next thing you know, it ends up in your feed. And you're like, that's cool, I want to go to that restaurant. That used to take months, and if not years, for the grassroots, for that to end up at a dinner party that you were at with your friends, where your friend said, hey, I just got back from Manhattan and I met with my buddy and we went to this place on the Lower East Side. It's super cool. That took years to get to your brain, and now it takes seconds, right? I think the transformation of these streets happened overnight, but it's also rocket ship up and rocket ship down in some cases, because a lot of people come in expecting their product to be consumed or received or whatever it may be. Maybe they use the wrong influencer, maybe they the wrong price point, and then they fail. So I think those are the two distinct things that have changed since the early 90s when I got in the business.
So what's the number one trait you were looking for in hiring a young broker?
Don't take my job. No, actually it's somebody that would want my seat, right? Integrity, is an important part of any, it doesn't matter from a new broker to an experienced broker, what type of integrity they have, what does their reputation have, how do they treat you as a human, and how do they treat other people in their audience, right? Maybe in the office, in the car, in a tour, whatever, how do they treat that that person? They treat them like a partner. Do they have respect for them? So that, to me, integrity is like the biggest backbone of, a human skill in my mind to being a good advisor or real estate broker as you're defining them.
Yeah, I feel like that first job, you have such an influence on that person for the rest of their career. If you're their first hire or you're the first job that they take, they're going to look to you and say, how do I conduct myself? How do I act ethically? What's the right thing to do on this deal? If I think it's not the right deal for my client, all of those things, really, that first job makes such a big difference.
I've been fortunate enough to pick some really talented, aspirational people who wanted to listen to me, or and trust me for the most part. Like you, I don't know everything. Like everybody, we don't know everything. I like mentoring the young and the aspirational, and more importantly to me, it's just such a good feeling when I see them succeed, outperform me, out knowledge me, out everything what I do. It's like they just build off that foundation.
Yeah. So your firm's literally named Main and Main, and that implies the perfect location. So in 2026, does Main and Main still mean the busiest intersection, or with, new technology and people be able to find things, as the definition of that perfect location changed now that cool brands may want to be hidden on side streets?
Thank you. It is, Main and Main is a terminology that was widely used when you and I were in the industry. And then, frankly, when I was able to trademark it, I was really surprised, because it was a terminology that is resonating with a lot of people. A lot of people violate it in the use of it, and we could go after them and had to fight a few of the people that are wrongfully using it. So at the end of the day, I still think it defines the center of gravity, right, or collection of community. I've yet to see another terminology replace the definition of that intersection of life and life, basically, or where work, play, live. People tried in the 80s. That became a big part of that, and there is that vertical integration. So we still are street driven for the most part. There is a mall renaissance taking place, and that I'm seeing on a few people right now. But at the end of the day, and quality, let's call it indoor, particularly you see it in the weather environments. But there is a collection place, right? And when I look at the communities, like Los Angeles is going through a lot, Brett, right? It's good, and we just had the 1-year anniversary of our fires here in Los Angeles. It was so devastating with so many people and so many communities. You hear a lot about the Palisades in Malibu, but it was really all other communities in Altadena, Pasadena, all that stuff. So all these communities that really were affected, and it made it really challenging for displacement of homes, not to mention loss of your own stuff. But now you're threaded into other communities. We have them here where I reside in Newport Beach. We have them in Manhattan Beach. All these people who got displaced. And for that person who wanted to come into Los Angeles and find a place in that time of year last year, impossible to find homes. We've had a regain of population. California decrease, run into other states. Some of those people are coming back. They're not finding out that the humidity in Texas or whatever it may be in Florida is just too much for them, so they're coming back. We're actually seeing a renaissance. Big issues in Los Angeles are homelessness. That's been a political drive for many people. We're trying to correct that problem. We have the Olympics. We have World Cup coming this summer. We have the Super Bowl coming, and we have the Olympics all in the next 24 months, right? Which is going to be massive to Southern California and California in general. The mayor of San Francisco, that guy's a rock star. He's doing a phenomenal job in cleaning up the streets. And it doesn't take much of an investment. It just takes intention. And I think the spirit of San Francisco is coming back strong. I happen to reside in Southern California. We do business all over, but we're dominant in California. And we do a lot of business in that part of the world. So I'm happy to see that taking place, because it's a global city. Let's put it top 5. I'd put it top 5 in the world, right? Along with Los Angeles and San Diego in that math. And we are seeing some great resurgence. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, this state is on top, right? In 5 years, it's going to be entirely different from what you see right now. In 3 years, because of the Olympics, all the infrastructure, all the streets will be clean. It will be pristine, and you won't even recognize it. And we're seeing it. You're seeing a high level like Beverly Hills, and we're seeing let's call it interest from premium retailers and luxury retailers are coming in strong into Los Angeles. And then we also have grassroots stuff, as well as a lot of international, a lot of Asian going main place, if you will, not just in their communities, going into other communities. So there's a big influx of Asian concepts. We happen to work with, 3, 4, 5 of them. Personally, we have some Italian groups coming in. We happen to have 3, 4, 5 Italian groups coming in. So a lot of international crossroads, because Los Angeles is comprised of a lot of ethnicities, as you know. You can come here and reach 22 million people inside of 2 hours. Why wouldn't you grow a concept if it catered to a California culture? And again, I think I spoke a little bit to, but the Asian cultures are coming. Asian cultures threaded in every neighborhood. Doesn't matter where you are, right? So the Asian concepts, are dropping in mainstream shopping centers and flourishing, right? So
Right.
it's a beautiful thing to see, because one is a cross-culturalizing component of these communities, and 2, the outside influences coming in, actually investing in our area. Like I said, we're working with, I think, 5 or 6 groups from Italy right now that are coming into Los Angeles area. And that's, again, because European culture, doesn't matter if it's Italian, French, or Spanish, they all appreciate the authenticity and the cleanliness of the food offerings that you get from some of these crafty people that are coming to town. So that part I like a lot.
Finally, Kyle, I see you're on Brandmarch, which is helping modernize how we connect in this industry. So why is it important for a firm with your tenure and reputation to be visible on new digital platforms like Brandmarch?
Yeah, like I said earlier in the conversation, Brett, is information is key, right? And those that are coming into the industry that don't know or don't have relationships that are long-standing, it's a great platform for you to go learn really quick who might be the ability or influencing component of that neighborhood. And there's so many talented. When you first approached and said, "Hey, what do you think of this platform?" I was like, "I love the idea, and I'm happy to get involved." And then when I see these other talented individuals that I revere that are on this platform with ourselves, I'm like, wow, that's great. I try to humble ourselves. We think we're very good at what we do, not because we tell ourselves that, but because other people tell us that, and business comes to us very naturally through easy referrals. Because I think of our performance, our friendships, and the way we really look at things in a partnership, and given the opportunity, we would invest with somebody. But a lot of people just want to keep their own capital. So we think we're really good, but so I see these great people that you have in these other cities on the platform, and kudos to you and kudos to Brandmarch, and we're happy to be part of that. Now I'm in a pack. That's running 7.5 on a treadmill, and now I want to keep up, right, with these guys, because they're challenging me, and I hope that I'm challenging them. We're going to be able to cross reference business to each other, and frankly, every community needs to thrive from this intelligence that you're offering. And for the user that's coming on and says, I don't know, who is it in Detroit or who is it in Chicago? Easy find in Brandmarch. So you've done a really good job there. We're happy to be part of the Brandmarch, and we hope we're doing you guys proud.